Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little different, but it's for my type 1 diabetes followers. I recently got the Dexcom G7. If you don't know, the Dexcom G7 is now available for those who have the tandem insulin pump. So I have been wearing the G7, the Dexcom G7 for about 2 weeks now, and I have loved it. I have written down some pros and cons that you should know before getting on the Dexcom G7. I was previously on the Dexcom G6, which I love the Dexcom. It's been a game changer for me. It has brought my A1C down tremendously. It had, I think before I was on the Dexcom, I was like a 7.8 and now I'm like a 6.3. So there has been a huge difference in my life by using this, and I am forever grateful for this product. So I can't recommend it enough. Before I was on the Dexcom G6, I was on the Libre monitor, and that one worked just as well. I know for someone in my family who has type 2 diabetes, he says that one's covered through Medicare. So definitely if you are older, take a look at that one. I thought I would share with you guys some things that I have learned, how to insert it, because I've only seen a few videos on YouTube about this, and obviously this is a lot different than my normal content, but I just thought I would create it since I do have quite a few type 1 diabetes followers on here. All right, here is the G7. It comes in a little box. To be honest, when I first got this in the mail, I was like, this is the applicator, but like, where's the transmitter? So one thing about the G7 compared to the G6 is the transmitter and sensor, it's all in one. You're going to use every 10 days, you're going to use one box and one box only. So you don't need to worry about getting a new sensor, getting a new transmitter. You know, it all comes in one, which is really convenient, especially when I travel. I don't have to worry about like, oh, I need to pack a backup transmitter in case the one I'm using fails. So having that feature is really, really nice. Another thing with the G7 is it's so much slimmer. So 60% smaller is what Dexcom says. This is what it looks like, and this is what the G6 looks like. So there's a huge difference in size. I have my old one on right now that I need to change. It's like falling off. So please excuse how ratchet it looks, but you can see a little bit how thin it is on my arm. Normally when I was wearing the 6, I would like bump into things and sometimes it would just come off because it was so bulky. So if you can see how small it is here versus this is how the 6 would look on my arm, it was just a lot more bulkier, but the difference isn't necessarily the transmitter, it's the tape that went with it. So for the G7, it's the size of a quarter, but for the G6, the tape, the adhesive that came with it was so much wider. So my skin was it reacted to it, and I was trying to find different options that would help my skin like react differently to it because my skin was very like irritated by the adhesive. That was a hard like challenge, but I do have to say, I have to remind myself, it was on my body for 10 days straight. But like once day 5 hit, my skin was like, girl, like take this off. Like what is on my skin? With the G7, I've noticed that it comes off a lot easier. Even with the sticker that comes within the box that I will show you guys, it does not stay in place that well because it's so small. So I'm going to look into a company called Skin Grip that has better adhesive for my skin, even though I think my skin will get really irritated by it, but that way it will stay on longer because the tape that is provided in the G7 box is honestly not that great. Today, when I am going to show you guys how I insert it, I'm gonna use the Skin Tack wipe and see if that helps a little better, even though my skin doesn't, like, I still get really bad bumps when I use this. I just don't think my skin likes it. It's like a really tacky texture, so when you use your G7, it will help stick and stay longer, which I like. Yes, it's smaller, but the tape just doesn't stay on that well. With the G7, this one is more accurate than the G6. So you have to take that into consideration. Technology has advanced. They've done a lot of research on that. So if you're deciding between the G6 and the G7, you should take that into consideration. However, I would say personally, I didn't have a lot of problems with the G6. I only had like 2 out of the 280 that I inserted on my body were inaccurate. So it was very rare for me. It just depends on where you're placing it on your body. I remember in end of college, I was putting my Dexcom G6 on my leg, and I noticed that it would be inaccurate in those spots. So I think it really just depends on the person and like where you're inserting your Dexcom. Part of the reason why I wanted the G7 so bad was because the warm-up time. So with the G7 warm-up time, it is 30 minutes for your warm-up time instead of 2 hours. For the G6, it was a 2-hour warm-up, and when I say those 2 hours were literal hell, they were hell for me because my blood sugar would somehow in those 2 hours go up to like 280. Having the 30-minute warm-up time has been so amazing. I have been less anxious. The G7 stays on for 10 days. Gives you a 12-hour grace period. So it will tell you, hey, you need to change your Dexcom. And say like some of the times when I would have my G6, I would be traveling, it'd be a travel day. It was just super inconvenient to change it in the hour ended. But with the G7, it's like, hey, we know you might be busy, but like just to let you know, it will end in 12 hours. So within those 12 hours, find a time that works best for you to change your site. I am going to show you guys, like I said, how to insert this, but I just thought I would give you guys some helpful tips on like what I've learned and some of my feedback if you're contemplating between the Dexcom G6 and G7. Another big thing, please listen up here. I don't know if it's because I'm one of the first ones in my area or I just didn't do enough research. I'm like having to research myself. Maybe my endo could have told me this, but I just didn't have a conversation with her. I don't know if on Dexcom's end, they could talk more about this, or Tandem's end, they could talk about this more, but I had no idea about this. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to make this video. My insurance, I go through Amazon Pharmacy for all of my medical devices. I don't go straight through Dexcom's website, but so it really just depends on where you're going through. But because the G7 has been out for 2 years now, it was not available for people on the Tandem insulin pump because at that point, G7 was not compatible with your Tandem insulin pump. So I couldn't get the G7 until December because that's when it was available to the public. However, because it is still, at least this is how Dexcom explained it to me. I was on the phone for like 45 minutes because I was trying to understand this and I didn't fully grasp reading online, like with all this information. I was so confused, so I needed someone to explain it to me. Because the G7 was not compatible with the t:slim, they're still having some of the old boxes being sent out to customers. So if you get your box and it does not have a line under this number on the side, it should have a line under this number right here. If you are on the t:slim pump and it does not have a line on the back of the box under that specific number, it is not compatible with your t:slim pump. If you are on other pumps or if you do not have an insulin pump, you can go ahead and use it. But for the t:slim users, it's really important that you know that, just because right now they're getting it out to the public and the manufacturers still have the old ones. I meant to add here that if you do not have the correct ones, you need to go on Tandem's website and order the compatible sensors. I will link it down below for you guys. And that is what I received. When I first got the G7, I was receiving the old Dexcom. So that's what this is what this one is right now. It's not connected to my t:slim, and I can tell that my blood sugars are way under, like they are not controllable at all because my G7 is not connected to my insulin pump, my t:slim. So another thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video was when you get the G7, you need to download the new, if you're an iPhone user, I don't know anything about the Android. I'm sure it's the same if you have an Android, but if you have the G7, you need to delete your old app. Your Dexcom G6 app will not work. You need to get the new G7 app which I really like this app more than the G6. I'm gonna screen record my screen right now so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Please excuse my blood sugar. I had a bagel today and it brought me up to like 260. So please ignore that. But the new app, it almost has like your Dexcom G7 information, but it also is like a mix between that and the Clarity app. So if you were on the G6 and you had the Clarity app, it's a 2-in-1 app now, which is really, really nice. You scroll down and it says my 90-day glucose summary. It says in the Clarity section is 171. It tells me the time in range, 61% in range. I never go low, knock on wood. I hardly go low anymore with the new G7. Do the time and range, which I really like on this app because I'm able to see what my A1C basically is before I go see my doctor, and like, oh, so that's really helpful. It has a history section, connections, share on. So like it will tell you like the people who follow my app is my husband and my dad. They follow me on the app so they can see my blood sugars whenever they open the app. And then it tells me at the top, it says that I have 5 days left on this sensor stuff, but I really like how the Clarity app is in the G7 app now, which is really convenient and super helpful. Let's get into it and insert the G7. If you were on the Libre, the applicator is just like it. So I was very familiar with how it seems very intimidating, but it's super easy. It looks like this, and you're gonna need the barcode that's on the side of applicator because that's what you're gonna scan to use on your phone. Bottom of the box, you're gonna get like an instruction pamphlet that will tell you like how to insert it and everything, but it comes with a sticker, and this is a sticker they give you that's supposed to help your Dexcom stay on longer. All right, so you're just gonna twist it off. You have to be very careful because as soon as you take it off, you're gonna see the needle inside. It's pretty deep in there, but just be cautious when you're opening it. Literally so sticky. Okay. I'm just gonna push this button right here. Sorry, I'm really bad at explaining this. So push it. Okay. You do have to push the button pretty hard. Not really hard, but more like harder than you would the G6. That's why I like the G6 applicator better. While I have that on, I am then going to go into my app, connections, and then you're gonna use play sensor. And it says, why are you stopping now? And you click which one best suits you. I'm just gonna tell you to remove it and everything. And then you're gonna take this part, because you're supposed to save it, and you're gonna scan the barcode on there. New sensor has inserted, and then it's going to search for the sensor. Come up, we're gonna hit pair. Sensor's paired. And because I started this 5 minutes ago, I don't know how it knows this, but I inserted it 5 minutes ago, and so it deducts that time away. So right now it's 24 minutes instead of 30 minutes is why. So I don't know if it's as soon as you like push this button. So you can see how thin it is. It does not come off the tape like the G6 would come off, like you could push it off, but you can kind of tell a difference here. Now I am going to connect it to my insulin pump, which is the problem I've been having. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to update your t:slim insulin pump to make it compatible with the Dexcom G7 because you have to update it first. So you're going to go to the Tandem website and log into your account. Once you are logged in, you're going to click My Pump button on the left side. This is where you are going to take the training course that is required in order to update your insulin pump. Once your course is completed, you're going to see this screen at the end, and this is really important because you are going to need this ID number later on in the process. Please keep in mind if you don't update your insulin pump right away, the ID number does expire after 30 minutes or so, so you will need to get a new ID number. Next, you are going to download the Tandem device updater, and you want to make sure it's compatible to your computer, so either the Mac or Windows version. And then you're simply just going to follow the next steps that the update gives you and tells you to do. This is where you are going to enter your ID number and your insulin pump, but it will tell you when to do it. Again, the time might run out, so you might have to go back and redo this whole process if you do not do it in one sitting.
And then I need you. Can you verify the serial number of the pump that you're looking at?
This is not easy whatsoever. Yay. Okay, so once you have updated your insulin pump, or like once it's finished setting up and everything, you're gonna go to options, go to my CGM, and then it thinks I'm on the G6 still. So I'm gonna scroll down and then change sensor type, and I'm gonna hit G7. And then that's where you're gonna see the start G7 sensor button. You're gonna add this pairing code that was on here. And I'm crossing my fingers. Okay, it's gonna have you enter it in again. Okay, code confirmed. I'm aware it's not gonna be this serious next time I change my G7 because I've never connected it to my pump, but I feel like they could have made that way more easier for us. That, I just spent an hour trying to do. Anyways, okay, that was a pain in the butt. I need to give myself insulin for my number because I'm sure my warm-up is still happening. I'm 163 because I was not connected, so I have to add my blood sugar in. I was not connected that whole time it was updating. It was connecting to my computer, so I was without insulin for like, I don't know, 30 minutes. So that's probably why I'm up, and because I had lunch. So I hope this video helped a little bit. Again, it's not my normal content that I post, but I wanted it to be something different, and I wanted it to be helpful for you guys since whenever I was searching this and trying to figure it out on my own, I didn't find a video that I loved that helped explain the new features of the G7, but helped with the T-Slim software update. Like, I know there's a lot of videos out there that people have been talking about the G7, but the videos don't explain the T-Slim software update, and they don't go together with the pump. Like normally the G7 people, either they're on insulin injections or they're on the Omnipod, but no one that I've seen that I could find was on the T-Slim. So I wanted to create my own so I could help you guys. I hope this helped. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.